Comcast shares in the red after announcing third quarter financial results before market open Thursday. The company beat Wall Street estimates on both the top and bottom lines. The company reporting adjusted earnings of 87 cents per share on revenue of $30.3 billion in the third quarter. Comcast Xfinity adding 300,000 broadband subscribers during the quarter. And it's worth remembering that Comcast CFO Michael Cavanaugh warned about a month ago that broadband would see slower growth in Q3 compared to the same period last year. Meanwhile, Comcast not releasing any user engagement figures for its streaming service Peacock. I'm joined by Variety co-editor-in-chief Cynthia Littleton to discuss Comcast Q3. So Cynthia, let's talk big picture here, because when we're looking at the fundamentals, we got pretty solid numbers in Q3, right? Free cash flow was strong. We saw significant debt reduction, but the stock, again, can't catch a meaningful bid higher on these results. So what do you make of these numbers that we got?
You know, it's really interesting. I mean, we saw, all the numbers were very sound, very strong fundamentals. Not quite, Comcast, the real story of Comcast is broadband. Subscriber acquisition has been great. It's not as strong as it was pre-pandemic, but they had very high bar to reach, and they have very strong broadband strategies. Mm-hmm. It's clear that it's an old story. Comcast is no longer chasing video subscribers. They are really trying to get savvy with how they mix and match and slice and dice broadband services to reach as many people as they can in their footprint with a lot of different price points. It's really clear that Comcast and NBC Universal, it really is becoming, when you listen to their earnings and see what's driving that company, you really are talking about two different companies. That was very much evident in today's earnings report. I will also say that there is no question that Comcast is the envy of its peers with all of that free cash flow. That is something that they can't be touched right now. And they were also you could tell that they were very proud to talk about bringing their leverage ratio down. That's been a point of pride, and it's also been an impediment for them for other things that they may want to do. So this is also a signal that debt pressure is coming down. So it could be a signal to watch this space and see what we do now that we have a little more flexibility on the balance sheet.
And Cynthia, you mentioned that Comcast is no longer chasing video subscribers. As we know, cord cutting continues to accelerate. So let's talk a little bit about Peacock. Usually they give us at least something, right, in terms of user engagement. We got signups before. In Q2, they had, 54 million signups. This quarter, we got absolutely nothing. So what did you make of Jeff Shell's comments on the earnings call when he said that things are okay, but we don't get any numbers?
Coming off of the Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo, it is surprising that we didn't get a long list of stats and metrics about how many people tuned in to watch track and field events on a Wednesday morning when the moon was full. It is surprising that we didn't hear a lot more about engagement for the Olympics. The NBC, for decades, the Olympics has been NBC's platform, where they tried new things, where they would experiment with technologies. Having Peacock and having it be the perfect platform for something where there's so much content coming in, and users really want the option to be able to see what they want when they want it. The fact that there wasn't a lot of talk about Peacock on the call and no hard numbers put in, it does not suggest that things are going very gangbusters for Peacock. Now, NBC CEO Jeff Shell did assure us that the metrics are going in the right direction for Peacock. So I think what will happen is the company at some point is going to face more pressure to get specifics about what those metrics are and where the goalposts are, and what Comcast is doing with streaming. And I think in that bigger picture question of talking about these tale of two companies, Comcast is a powerhouse on broadband. Streaming services require broadband, but those two strengths aren't coming together to make Peacock a bigger deal right now. So it's a lot of questions in the marketplace for Comcast.
Yeah, I mean, Comcast getting so mysterious with these Peacock numbers. I'm so curious what the truth is behind what Jeff Shell is telling us. That being said, what do you see for the future? You and I have talked about Comcast for several quarters at this point, and we always bring this up. There's always been this chatter on the street about potential M&A for NBC Universal. Do you think that's plausible at this point? Do you think we'll see something down the line? What do you think Peacock has to do to play catch up? And then what is Comcast going to do with all that free cash flow? Are they going to spend all that capital on investing on its streaming service?
It's interesting, on the free cash flow, what will they do with all of that? What more can they buy in they can't get too, from a regulatory perspective, they can't get too much bigger in traditional cable, wired homes passed. That could change on the regulatory front, but regulatory change is measured in eons, not months or years. So that is going to be a long time coming. It really is the question, do they grow more internationally? There's obviously, Sky is a huge asset for them, and you can tell the energy and focus that they're putting on it, because Europe is a very big, compared to the US, Europe is a huge potential for Comcast, so you can understand the emphasis there. In terms of NBC Universal, I think they would probably love it if the Peacock numbers were strong and worthy of bragging, because that would certainly be the leading light that could generate excitement for some kind of spin-off or IPO. But in lieu of that, in lieu of some kind of just massive hits coming to some of their linear networks or any of their studio content divisions really scoring, I think any talk of NBC Universal going on its own, they're going to need that good story. While the basic fundamentals, even at NBC Universal, look strong for a business we're still recovering from pandemic impact, there's not that new story of innovation and growth that could really drive something that they would need some pizzazz and excitement to get people excited about spinning off NBC Universal. And I think that because they don't have too much pressure, they have all that free cash flow. I think they will probably bide their time before doing something like that, if an M&A opportunity, another type of M&A opportunity doesn't come along that would make sense then to keep NBC and put it together. But I think it is becoming an either-or scenario for them with NBC Universal.
Well, Cynthia, thank you for helping me make sense of Comcast Q3. It's always a pleasure to have you here in studio with me. And if you want more in-depth analysis on Comcast and the rest of the media sector, head over to variety.com/VIP.